Good morning. All right. So today we are going to be looking at fractions and decimals, chapter 10. And really, what we're going to be looking at is, and the activities that we'll do have to deal with early on how fractions and decimals are related. And so by the end of this chapter, we would be able to answer that question. But a lot of what you're going to see and experience is that fractions and decimals are very similar. Not exactly alike, but they are related. So the first thing that I would like us to do is to make your foldable. And for your foldable, you'll just need to tear this page out and cut around your two circles here and then remove them. And then once you have your two circles cut out, you will cut along the yellow dotted lines. And once those are cut, then you can slide your pieces together like so. Okay. And what this is going to do is it's going to kind of help us to understand, one, how fractions and decimals are related, and some of the limitations that decimals have when talking about fractions. And one of the things they're limited to are denominators of either 10, 100, and 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. So we are working with base 10 numbers. So you get your foldable all cut out there. Go ahead and pause this video because we are going to go directly into the Am I Ready portion of chapter 10. Okay, so get your foldable put together. Go ahead and pause this video if you need to. All right, welcome back. The foldable and the Am I Ready? Okay, so when I'm looking at the Am I Ready, I am looking at the directions and it says write a fraction to describe the part that is green. Okay, well, fancy enough, our fractions are green in our foldable here, and we can use this foldable. Start by getting it positioned so that it's just about all purple. All right, right there. Good. Now, write a fraction that describes the part that is green. Now, how many parts are green and how many total parts do we have? And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 total parts. And when we have 10 total parts, now we can count the parts that are green because that's what the directions are telling us to do. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I know that because the total amount of parts that we have is 10, I know we're working with tenths. Now, I also am going to use my foldable. If I can get her situated here. There we go. So I have 7 tenths. So here I have 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 5 tenths, 6 tenths, and there's my 7 green tenths. So I can count that up, and I know that when adding fractions, my denominator stays the same and my numerator changes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7 tenths would be the fraction that we write for number 1. Okay, number 2, okay, we can go back and turn our foldable back into all purple. We're close to it because if you go too far, then it comes apart. Okay, so number 2, we are looking at, again, how many parts are green and how many total parts do we have? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 total parts. and we have 2 that are green. So I know that we are working with tenths. Okay, so I have a 1 part that is green and 2 parts that are green. And when I count those or I add them up, 1/10 plus 1/10, denominator stay the same, and the numerator changes. I have 2 tenths. So nothing new about this, okay? 2 tenths. Sorry, my surface is a little soft here, poking holes. Okay, now look at this. This is, number 3 is a little bit different, okay? 1, it's not bars, it's little tiny cubes. But if you look at this as strips, okay, the strips are still here, okay? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 strips still, okay? But each one of these strips has 10 boxes in it. So you have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. So you have 10 strips, but you have 100 little tiny boxes that are sitting in there, okay? So that means that we have to look at this 2 ways. We can look at this as 2 ways. We can look at it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it looks like we have 8 little dots here, okay? So I see 6 tenths plus 8 100ths extra, okay? So not to confuse you there, but I am looking at this as I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, plus 8 more, 68 100ths. Okay? Or (68 100ths) can also be written as a decimal. Okay? All of these here, we have a denominator of 10 and a denominator of 100. All of these can be written as a decimal. Okay? So let's look at the language here of number 4. It says 4 tenths. Okay, it says write each as a fraction. So if I have 4 tenths, I can use my foldable. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, 4 tenths. Like so. Okay. 8 tenths, do the same thing. 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8 tenths. Oops, sorry. And 20 100ths. Well, we know we're going to be dealing with a denominator of 20 or 100, and we have 20 out of 100. So 20 100ths. Okay, so when we are talking about decimals, we are talking about numbers that are very similar to fractions. However, they are limited to denominators of 10, 100, and 1,000 for your purposes. And yes, it does continue on down the line, but these numbers exist between 0 and 1. Okay, so they're not smaller than 0, but they aren't as big as 1. Okay, so just like fractions, all right? When we go into lesson number 2 next, we will go into that a little bit more. But for now, go ahead and practice a couple of more problems on your Am I Ready? After I explain really quickly 2100. So look at this. We have, looking at number 3's table here, okay? We can see that 2100ths, and this is where I was trying to go with the 68 100ths, but I think 2100 is going to help me a little bit more. I have my strips. I have my 2 strips. I have 1 and 2. That would be 2 tenths. But also I have 10 little squares inside of each one of those strips. So I have 10 and 20 100ths. So when you see a grid like this, you know you're working with 100ths. When you see a grid like this, you know you're working with tenths, right? But you can see that 20 100ths, because of its size, right? Because of its size, it's the same size as 2/10. That means it's the same thing as 2/10. Okay? So that's just showing you that 20 100ths is equivalent to 2/10 right there. Okay? All right. We're going to stop there, and hopefully you have your foldable made and you were able to follow along with the Am I Ready? Thank you very much.